When you think about how knowledge spreads today, what immediately comes to mind?
Oh, definitely things like, digital libraries, global conferences.
Instant messaging with colleagues across continents, yeah.
Mhm.
It all feels incredibly modern.
Very much a product of our networked 21st century.
But what if I told you that centuries ago, Europe already possessed its own dynamic, bustling network of knowledge hubs?
Playing a surprisingly similar role, right? In connecting minds, spreading breakthroughs.
Exactly. Long before the internet or even widespread printed journals, these institutions were absolutely critical.
Shaping how ideas traveled, evolved, and how they influenced whole societies.
So today we're diving into pre-modern academic institutions and the spread of ideas based on some really groundbreaking research.
By David Delacroix, Rossana Chaba, and Chiara Zanardello. It's fascinating stuff.
We're going to explore how universities and academies from the 11th to the 18th centuries didn't just house great thinkers.
No, they were more like engines, weren't they? Engines of intellectual exchange, cultural transformation.
That's a great way to put it. So let's unpack the enduring lessons these historical networks hold for us.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here isn't just the history lesson itself, though that's interesting too.
What is it then?
It's the insight it gives us into the mechanics of how ideas actually propagate. This study reminds us that the fundamental pathways, well, they might be far more consistent across time than we assume.
Even with all our modern tech.
Even with all our tech, it suggests ideas aren't just born and then sit passively in books or, on screens.
They need something more.
They need active human interaction, specific environments to really take root and spread.
That's right. And this leads us directly to a core insight from this research. A brilliant idea. In isolation, it rarely changes the world.
It needs fertile ground.
For an idea to truly grow, to be debated, challenged, refined, carried forward, it absolutely needs a community.
And the researchers found these communities existed on a pretty large scale back then.
Yeah, approximately 200 universities and an additional 150 academies of sciences provided exactly this.
200 universities. That's a lot for that period.
It is. And these weren't just buildings, they employed thousands of scholars. And by coming together in the same cities, they created these incredibly dense networks.
Intellectual exchange just happening organically almost.
Right. And their influence wasn't just science. It shaped religion, medicine, education, even politics.
Everything.
Imagine a university literally transforming a city into a vibrant hub of learning, attracting students, teachers, patrons.
Creating that fertile ground we talked about, making sure ideas had a place to survive and thrive.
They weren't just cultivating intellectual ecosystems, they were the gardeners, as you said.
Indeed. And what's crucial to understand here is that these institutions didn't just passively house scholars.
They were active.
They actively cultivated environments where ideas gained momentum. They fostered critical discourse, those informal chats in the hallway.
The coffee breaks of the 15th century.
Sort of. And the formal debates, too. All essential for ideas to be tested, refined, before they spread.
It really highlights the indispensable human element, doesn't it?
It really does. And it makes you wonder how much of our own progress today relies not just on that lone genius, but on the social fabric, the relationships that nurture ideas.
This research strongly suggests those pre-modern networks were the lifeblood of it all. Connections driving progress.
Absolutely. Human connections.
And that brings us to one of the most compelling aspects, how they actually measured the movement of these ideas.
Right, because that's tricky. You can't just count books.
No, written records can be patchy, biased.
Yeah.
So they took this incredibly innovative approach.
What do they do?
They painstakingly reconstructed this massive network. Over 75,000 scholars.
75,000? That's wow.
Tracing where and when they studied, taught, collaborated across Europe. Meticulously.
And how did they define a connection? That's key.
Here's the clever bit. They considered any two scholars connected if they overlapped at the same institution for even 1 year.
Just 1 year.
Yeah, a seemingly simple rule, but applied across huge data sets. It let them infer these robust, sometimes subtle intellectual connections.
Connections you might miss just looking at who published what. Captures those chance encounters, shared spaces.
Exactly. And then, to model how ideas move through this human network, they borrowed a framework from, well, epidemiology.
Like disease spread.
Kind of. It's a powerful analogy.
Yeah.
Just as a disease can infect someone and spread through contact, an idea could infect a scholar.
Who then passes it on to colleagues through these academic connections.
Yes. It allowed them to map these waves of diffusion rippling across the continent over centuries.
You know, this methodology is more than just a clever analogy. It feels like a paradigm shift for intellectual history.
How so?
It forces us to look beyond the great man theory, beyond just publications. It focuses on the social ties, the human interactions as the actual carriers.
Makes it tangible. You can almost see the pathways.
Exactly. And it makes you think about your own life, doesn't it? Who are your intellectual carriers today?
Good question.
Is it direct conversation, shared projects, just being in the same sort of intellectual environment?
This study makes a strong case that this human-centric model, facilitated by institutions, has really deep historical roots.
And it's still fundamentally relevant.
The study really brings this process to life with 3 fascinating historical examples. They're great proof points.
Okay, let's hear them.
First up, botanical realism in the 16th century. We're talking about Leonhard Fuchs.
Ah, yes, the physician and botanist.
He truly revolutionized plant study, treating botany as its own scientific discipline, not just, medicine adjacent.
His illustrations were incredible, weren't they? So detailed.
Unbelievably detailed.
Yeah.
And his observations inspired the creation of botanical gardens all across Europe.
Living laboratories, essentially.
Exactly, for study, for classification.
And the model the researchers built shows a direct link here.
A direct and compelling link. Cities with greater network exposure to Fuchs's ideas, specifically through this scholar network they mapped, they were significantly more likely to establish botanical gardens.
Wow. So it's not just correlation, it's exposure via people leading to real-world infrastructure.
Precisely. It wasn't just Fuchs writing a book. It was the community engaging with his methods leading to a physical outcome.
That's powerful evidence for the network effect. Okay, what's next?
Next, we jump back a bit to the 15th century. Mathematical astronomy. Johannes Regiomontanus.
Right, Regiomontanus, foundational work in trigonometry, astronomical observation.
Absolutely foundational. Directly influenced giants like Copernicus, Kepler, Galileo later on.
He really laid critical groundwork for the scientific revolution.
He did. And again, the study shows his innovations didn't just magically appear or spread randomly.
They spread through the network.
Demonstrably. Cities with stronger network exposure to his work were measurably more likely to build observatories.
The critical infrastructure needed for the next wave of discovery.
Exactly. It shows this clear chain reaction. Intellectual innovation, network diffusion, physical tools, more discovery.
Another strong case. What's the third one?
Now for our third case study.
Yeah.
This one is particularly thought-provoking. Gives a different kind of insight.
Oh.
Scholasticism and Protestantism, spanning the 12th to the 16th centuries.
Ah, scholastic theology. Hugely dominant in medieval universities for centuries.
Hugely. But over time, it became, increasingly abstract, didn't it? Focused on intricate logic.
And maybe a bit detached from everyday concerns. Practical religious life.
Arguably, yes.
So what's the fascinating finding here?
Get this. The study found that cities heavily exposed to scholasticism through these academic networks were more likely to later embrace Protestantism.
More likely. That seems counterintuitive.
Right. It suggests this powerful, almost paradoxical dynamic.
Where intellectual saturation with one dominant idea can somehow set the stage for reform or even backlash.
That's what it implies, that an idea, even a dominant one, can become so entrenched, maybe so abstract.
That it inadvertently creates the intellectual space or maybe the appetite for something completely new to challenge it.
Exactly. It's a powerful lesson in how the very success or pervasiveness of one way of thinking can prime a society for profound change.
Wow, that really makes you think about intellectual trends today.
It does. So the researchers didn't stop at just analyzing history. They also tested some intriguing what-if scenarios.
Ah, the counterfactuals, always revealing.
They asked, what if academies had never been created? Or what if entire regions, say England, France, or Italy, were just hypothetically removed from this European network?
What did those simulations show?
They revealed 2 crucial things. First, academies were really important.
How so?
They were critical for linking distant scholars, significantly accelerating how ideas spread across the continent. Real intellectual bridges.
Okay, so academies mattered. What was the second point?
Second, and maybe even more surprising, no single region was indispensable.
Meaning the whole system was quite resilient.
Incredibly resilient, even when wars or, plagues or closures interrupted academic life somewhere.
Ideas kept circulating elsewhere.
Yes. They eventually reconnected, found new audiences. It showed the robustness of the distributed network itself.
A system where knowledge could always find new pathways. That's a key insight about networked systems in general.
It really is. So what does this all mean for us today? I mean, this research is about medieval and early modern Europe.
But the lessons feel much broader, don't they? They extend far beyond just history.
I think so. It really highlights a timeless truth about how ideas gain traction.
Which is,
Ideas rarely spread effectively through texts or digital platforms alone. They truly need institutions, environments that bring people together.
whether that's ancient lecture halls, modern labs, or even informal meetups.
The books, the letters, today's websites and emails, they all matter hugely. But without the communities,
The communities that foster trust, debate, real interaction.
ideas often just stay isolated, don't they? They never gain real traction or impact.
It underlines something we still see. Face-to-face exchanges, conferences, strong institutional backing. They're still key drivers of innovation.
Just like centuries ago.
Which raises an important point for policymakers, for leaders today.
What's that?
Supporting research isn't just about funding specific projects or building shiny new labs. It's fundamentally about sustaining the institutions and the networks.
Where people can meet, exchange knowledge, collaborate across all kinds of boundaries.
Exactly. Europe's intellectual and economic rise wasn't only about brilliant inventions. It was just as much, maybe more, about creating the social and institutional networks.
That allowed those inventions and ideas to spread, to endure, and ultimately to transform society.
The core insight is simple but profound. Then, as now, ideas live or die through the communities that carry them.
So investing in those communities, the people, the interactions, the shared spaces, is just as crucial as investing in the ideas themselves.
It's a holistic view of progress that seems pretty timeless.
So what we've really seen today is the incredible enduring power of these intellectual communities throughout history.
These pre-modern networks, built on human connection and institutional support, they really laid the groundwork.
For so much of what we take for granted in our modern world of knowledge.
And they prove that the mechanisms of idea diffusion are, in many ways, fundamentally human.
So here's a final thought for you, our listener. As you navigate your own world, maybe consider this.
What communities are shaping the ideas around you right now?
And how might your own participation in them, or even just your observation of them, contribute to whatever the next wave of change might be?
Something to mull over.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope it's given you a useful shortcut to being well informed.